right, language arts. We are going to share our sentences. We just worked on the rewrite. So we are now going to have volunteers, so you get to listen, which is always fun. M can go first, and everyone will have an opportunity. I'm just going to start from the front this time and go back. Last time I was back to front.
After Mrs. Reed ran all of our desks, Helen also was eating.
Helen was also what?
Eating.
Huh. Well, it's not, is it really unusual that M would write about eating?
No.
My always hungry, hangry friend. McKenna.
When he wiped the snow away, Nancy too was wiping snow.
Okay, very good. Olivia, did you have your hand up?
I forgot I needed to put one more thing on my
Okay, I'll come back. Ella.
When we were done riding Space Mountain, Luca, Jack, and I want to do it again.
Oh, Space Mountain.
We only did it once.
Terrifying.
I like Space Mountain.
No, it's fun.
I was in line for an hour and wait.
Yeah, it's a popular one.
Is that a guy?
Is that in
Magic.
Magic Kingdom? Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't remember where that was at. Yes. Helen, you can be next. We're gonna go, I'm just going through the lines. Nice and loud so Cadence can hear.
He ran away, but the chickens were still chasing him.
Oh, chickens have arrived. We cannot go through a sentence rewrite without chickens. Emma.
When he opened his eyes, the mysterious cat was gone.
Ooh, I like it. The mysterious cat. I like it. Grayson.
Yes, chickens.
Yay! The return of chickens. All right, let's listen.
When he slid away aside his chicken, when he slid aside his chicken tenders, his counselor was invisible.
What?
His what was invisible?
A counselor.
Counselor.
His chicken.
His chicken counselor?
Yep. No.
No.
A chicken assistant. Chickens can be counselors. I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh, there we go. We're going to go with Olivia, and then we'll go with Christian.
When Anne jumped on her trampoline, her shoes were gone.
Oh, dear. Dun, dun, dun. Where did they go? The chicken must have gotten them. All right. Christian.
When he kicked the ball, his face turned red and purple.
Oh, dear. That's not good.
Wait, yesterday that did. Yeah.
Cole.
I don't know.
He did reveal he is the author of the sentence, so he can keep secret.
When he wiped away his tears, the Fortnite World Cup was finished. He lost.
Oh, dear.
Come on.
Oh, that's tragic. I don't even know what that means.
You don't know what Fortnite is? The Fortnite World Cup.
Luke, you need to sit down. I'm not going to call on you when you're standing. Jonathan. So is Fortnite one of those games that you can play with other people in different houses and
There's also killing.
there's like tournaments that you play? Wow.
I tried one.
Okay, we're going to listen to Jonathan now.
When I wiped away Cameron's deadly food, Joshua too was gone because of Cameron's gross food.
Oh. Are we thinking back of the lovely
Oh no.
list of foods?
Don't say it.
Yum. So good. Okay, quiet.
When the chicken fell onto the sand, a shovel came and I fell on my giraffe-looking face.
Oh. All right.
That doesn't make sense.
Jeremiah.
Mine has the word chicken in it.
Oh, of course it does.
When he ate giant meatball, Nancy was eating chicken nuggets.
Well, there you go. The giant meatball sounds actually really good.
Yeah.
I like meatballs.
Giant chicken meatballs. What?
You've never tried a meatball?
Spaghetti.
You've never had spaghetti? You have or you have not? Oh, you should try it. It's good.
You have spaghetti. I have a
All right,
spaghetti.
let's listen. Anybody else want to read their sentence? All right. Let us get out Flora and Ulysses. We need to. All right, so we're actually halfway through. So maybe we can watch the movie soon. We'll have a Flora and Ulysses party. Since the squirrel likes food. I could bring in donuts. I don't either. How about what? Ew. Ew. No, we are. A squirrel is not going to die at my hands to make a cake. So we'll think about it. All right, friends, we're very excited. We are just in the very beginning talking phase. But when we finish this, we can have a little Ulysses. I want to call it the Ulysses party because I think Ulysses is cute. So yeah, maybe there'll be something in here that he likes to eat. I think he likes to eat everything. I don't think he's overly picky. Cheese puffs. Oh, that's a good idea. Cheese puffs. We'll think about it. All right, let's listen. I know he's alive, said another voice. I can tell that. Flora was here with him. How comforting. Yes, I see. He's a squirrel. For the love of Pete, said Flora, I know he's a squirrel. He is missing fur, said the voice. What kind of doctor are you, said Flora. The voices in the room kept singing. They were full of sadness and love and depression. The voice belonging to the giant eye hummed along with them. Ulysses tried to get to his feet. The gentle hand pushed him down. I am Dr. Misham, who is the doctor of philosophy, said the voice. My husband, the other Dr. Misham, was the medical doctor, but he has passed away. This is a euphemism, of course. I mean to say that he is dead. He has departed from the world. He is elsewhere and singing with the angels. Ha! There is another euphemism, singing with the angels. I ask you, why is it so hard to stay away from the euphemisms? They creep in always and attempt to make the difficult things more pleasing. So, let me try again. He is dead, the other Dr. Misham, the medical one, and I hope that he is somewhere singing, perhaps singing something for Mozart. But who knows where he is and what he is doing. Oh, for the love of Pete, said Flora again. I need a medical doctor. Ulysses might have a concussion. Shh, calm, calm. Why are you so agitated? There is no need to worry. You are worried about what? You will tell me what happened that makes you think concussion. He hit a door, said Flora, with his head. Yes, this could give a concussion. When I was a girl in Blundishmere, people were often getting concussions. Gifts from the trolls, you understand. I think this lady might be a little crazy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Gifts from the trolls? Look at him. Does he look like he has a concussion? The gigantic eye of Dr. Measham came closer, much closer. It studied him. The beautiful voices sang. Dr. Measham hummed. Ulysses felt strangely peaceful. If he spent the rest of his life being stared at by a giant eye and hummed over, things could be worse. The pupils of his little eyes are not dilated, said Dr. Measham. Dilated pupils, said Flora. I couldn't remember that one. So this is good. This is a hopeful sign. Next, we will see if he remembers what happened. We will check for amnesia. Flora's face came into view. He was glad to see her and her round head. Ulysses, she said, do you remember what happened? Do you remember being in the giant donut? Did he remember being in Rita's hair? Did he remember Rita screaming? Did he remember the man with the knife? Did he remember flying? Did he remember hitting his head very hard? Did he remember not getting to eat the giant donut? Let's see. Yes, 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 and yes. He nodded. Oh, said Dr. Measham. He nods his head. He communicates with you. He's, different. Special, said Flora. A special kind of squirrel. Excellent. Good. I believe this. Something happened to him. Yes, he hit a door with his head. No, said Flora. Before that, he was vacuumed, sucked up in a vacuum cleaner. Oh dear. There was a small silence. And then there was more humming from Dr. Measham. Ulysses tried again to get to his feet and again was pushed gently back. You are speaking euphemistically, said Dr. Measham. I'm not, said Flora. I'm speaking literally. He was vacuumed. It changed him. Certainly it did, said Dr. Measham. Absolutely, it changed him to be vacuumed. She raised her magnifying glass to her eye and leaned in close, studying him. She lowered the magnifying glass. How did it change him, please? Ulysses stood on all fours, and no one pushed him back. You will speak without euphemisms, said Dr. Measham. He has powers, said Flora. He's strong and he can fly. Also, he types. He writes poetry. A typewriter. Poetry. Flight, said Dr. Measham. She sounded delightful. His name is Ulysses. This, said Dr. Measham, is an important name. Well, said Flora, it was the name of the vacuum cleaner that almost killed him. Dr. Measham's eyes looked at Ulysses. It was rare for someone to look at a squirrel in the eye. Ulysses pulled himself up straighter. He looked back at Dr. Measham. He met her gaze. You must also list among his powers the ability to understand. This is no small thing to understand, Dr. Measham said to Flora. And then she turned back to Ulysses. You are feeling maybe a little sick to the stomach? Ulysses shook his head. Good, said Dr. Measham. She clapped her hands together. I am thinking Ulysses is not concussed. There's only one little cut on his head. Other than that, fine, good, great. I am thinking that maybe this squirrel is hungry. Ulysses nodded. Yes, he was very hungry. He would like eggs sunny side up. He would like a donut with sprinkles.
Oh, I thought he said egg with sprinkles.
Oh, well, that would be gross.
Sprinkles just don't.
I'm just,
They don't taste like
they
anything.
just are just sugar with very little taste. All right, chapter 38, Unremitting Darkness. Dun, dun, dun. You, said Dr. Measham to Flora, will have a seat on the sofa and listen to Mozart. And I will go and make us some sandwiches. What about my father, said Flora. Shouldn't I tell him where I am? Mr. George Buckman knows where you are, said Dr. Measham. He knows you are safe, so good. All is good. You will sit on the horsehair sofa, please. Dr. Measham went into the kitchen. I think I'd take off. And turned and looked at the couch. It was a huge couch. She dutifully sat down on it and then slowly, very slowly, slid off it. Wow, she said. She climbed back on the couch and concentrated on staying put. She sat with her hands on either side of her and her legs straight out in the air in front of her. She felt like an oversized doll. She also felt very, very tired and a tiny bit confused. Maybe I'm in shock, she thought. Terrible things can happen to you. Had done an issue listing the symptoms of shock. But Flora couldn't remember what they were. Was one of the symptoms of shock that you couldn't remember the symptoms of shock? She looked over at Ulysses. He was still sitting on the dining room table. He looked confused too. She waved at him and he nodded back. And then she noticed that there was a picture hanging on the wall opposite the couch. It was a painting of what looked like nothing but darkness. Unremitting darkness. Unremitting darkness was the phrase that occurred often in the criminal element. But why would someone paint a picture of unremitting darkness? Flora slid off the couch and walked over to the painting and stared at it most closely. In the middle of all the darkness, there was a tiny boat. It was floating on a black sea. Flora put her face right up against the painting. Something was wrapped around the boat, some technical shadow. For the love of Pete, the tiny boat on the dark sea was getting eaten by a giant squid. Flora's heart protested with a small thud of fear. Holy Bagumba, she whispered. From the kitchen, there came the sound of clinking silverware and crashing plates. The opera music ended. Ulysses, said Flora. She looked behind her and saw the squirrel sitting on the floor, sniffing his tail. Come here, she said to him. He walked over to her and she picked him up and put him on her shoulder. Look, she said. He stared at the painting. The boat is getting eaten by a gigantic squid. He nodded. It's a tragedy, said Flora. There are people on board the boat. Look, you can see them. They're ant-sized, but they're people. Ulysses squinted. He nodded again. They're all going to die, explained Flora. Every last one of them. As a superhero, you should be outraged. You should want to save them. In Candesta would. Ah, said Dr. Measham, coming up behind them. You are studying my poor, lonely giant squid. Lonely, said Flora. The giant squid is the loneliest of all God's creatures. He can sometimes go for the whole of his life without seeing any another of his kind. For some reason, Dr. Measham's words conjured up a face of William Spivey. White-haired and dark-eyed, Flora's heart squinched up. Go away, William Spivey, she thought. The squid is a villain, said Flora out loud. He needs to be vanquished. He's eating a boat, and he's going to eat all the people on the boat. Yes, well, loneliness makes us do terrible things, said Dr. Measham. And that is why the picture is there, to remind me of this. Also, because the other Dr. Measham painted it when he was young and joyful. Here, I'll go around and show the picture. You can kind of see the picture of the squid taking the boat. It's a lovely thought.
Why? If you were a doctor, why would you have that in your house? You're a doctor.
I don't know. I think if I were Flora, I'd be out of the house. Something not quite right. Something is not right. I have not seen the show. So, friends, when those of you who have seen the movie, is the movie very close to the book?
No.
No? Aww.
It's kind of at the start, but then in this part, it's
Yeah.
It's completely different?
Yeah.
Well, that's a given. I mean, you're not going to get it. She doesn't have big hair. Oh, why would you not put her with the big hair? That's like, is the only book from a movie that goes almost identically to it.
I think the book.
More detail. The books have more detail. Yeah. All right, where was I? Oh, yes. Good grief, thought Flora. What did he paint when he was old and depressed? Now, you will sit on the horsehair sofa, please, said Dr. Measham, and I will bring out the jelly sandwiches. Flora sat down on the couch. Ulysses was still on her shoulder. She put up her hand and touched him. He was warm. He was a small engine of warmness. The giant squid is the loneliest creature in all existence, said Flora out loud. And then, to keep things grounded and in perspective, she muttered, seal blubber. And then she whispered, do not hope, instead observe. She kept her hand on the squirrel. Something doesn't seem quite right. Chapter 39, the tears roll off. We'll have to end soon. Dr. Measham came out of the kitchen holding a pink plate with small sandwiches on it. She sat down next to Flora. You are enjoying the horsehair sofa? She said to Flora. I guess, said Flora. She wasn't sure exactly how someone enjoyed a horsehair sofa. You will eat a jelly sandwich, said Dr. Measham. She extended the plate to Flora. Ulysses leaped off Flora's shoulder and into her lap. He sniffed the plate. Our patient is hungry, said Dr. Measham. He never had breakfast, said Flora. She took 2 sandwiches and handed one to Ulysses. This sofa, said Dr. Measham, is the sofa of my grandmother. She was born on this sofa.
What? That's weird. Someone was born on a sofa?
In Blundermeshan, she lived in the world of her own. She lived the whole of her life there, and she is buried there in the dark wood. But that is a different story. What I meant to say is that when I was a girl, I sat on the sofa and spoke with my grandmother about inconsequential things, well into the gloom of the evening. That is what a girl did those days. She expected to speak in inconsequential things at the gloom of the evening, as the gloom of the evening descended. Also, she must knit. Always. The gloom was descending. Always, always. One was knitting outfits for the little trolls. I think Dr. Measham might be a little off. What do you think?
Yeah.
What little... She's a little creepy. What little trolls, said Flora. And where's Blundenmeshan? Never mind about the trolls for now. I meant only to say that life was very gloomy there. And one was always knitting. Sounds lousy, said Flora. It was exactly this. Lousy, said Dr. Measham. She smiled. Her dentures were very bright. There was a smear of grape jelly on one of her fake incisors, which is your long tooth. Flora reached for another sandwich. Had terrible things can happen to you ever warned against eating jelly sandwiches in the house of a woman from Blundermeshan? Your father is a lonely man, said Dr. Measham. Also, very sad. To leave you, this broke his heart. It did, said Flora. Yes, yes. Mr. George Buckman has sat on the horsehair sofa many times. He has talked of his sadness. He has wept. The sofa has seen the tears of many people. It is a sofa that is good for tears. It rolls off it, you see. Her father had sat on this couch and wept in the gloom of the evening descended. Flora suddenly felt like she might cry too. What was wrong with her? Seal blubber, she thought. The word steadied her. She handed another sandwich to Ulysses. Your father has a very big heart, said Dr. Measham. Do you know what this means? Flora shook her head. It means the heart of George Buckman is large, is capable of containing much joy and much sorrow. Oh, said Flora. For some reason, she heard William Spivey's voice saying that the universe was a random place. Random universe, said William Spivey. Flora felt dizzy. I'm a cynic, she announced, for no particular reason, and in a too loud voice. Bah, cynics, said Dr. Measham. Cynics are people who are afraid to believe. She waved her hand in front of her face as if she were brushing away a fly. Do you believe in, thing, said Flora. Yes, yes, I believe, said Dr. Measham. She smiled her too bright smile again. You have heard of Pascal Wagner? No, said Flora. Pascal, said Dr. Measham, had it that since it could not be proven whether God existed, one might as well believe that he did. We're going to leave it up from there. Something weird is going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not. All right. So, friends, this is what we're going to do. Tyson's not back yet. I'm going to turn this off.